Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 36. As expected, today we will continue planning out our new steel production area, and we will also fix some of the oversights I managed to introduce into the equation the last time. Now, this is a big project, with lots of moving parts, so don't expect to see any meaningful progress on the construction itself. This is a video purely about planning and bouncing things off the wall and see what sticks. We will more or less get to the part where we can get started on the main construction. But let's be honest with ourselves, we all know how bad I can be with such a big project, including things I have little experience with, so while we do reach the end of the planning phase today, I will also try to do some tests to see if it's even viable, so we might end up changing things later. Think of today as a rough draft. Before we get started, if this is not your first video from this channel, you already know what to expect. If you want to be kept up to date, please consider subscribing, and if you like what you see, leaving a like will also help letting me know what to focus on. But enough talking, let's get into it. First, let's fix that stupid factory connection crossing I foolishly included in the garbage handling. Next up, let's deal with that even more egregious error, namely the cable car station that was facing the wrong way. Should be an easy fix, since most of the cable towers are already in the right position. We just need to trim back a bit, and then reconnect them. Now, I am not 100% sure if a single cable car line will be enough to handle the output of these mines, and this concern has been raised in the comments. That's what I will try to diagnose before we get to the next episode. Whenever I test these kinds of things, I just load the last save, disable the realistic mode, and quick build everything to test how they perform in a live situation. That's what I intend to do. Test if this setup is viable, and if not, we can do some last-minute fixes in the next video. We should only worry about getting the rough outline of the place down, and worry about the small details later. Take these aggregate cable lines for example. If a single one is not enough to deal with the output, we will simply split the conveyor line, and use 2 stations to deal with it. But I am cautiously optimistic that they will be able to handle it. The mine is only about 45% efficient, and we only really need enough throughput to keep the steel mill operational. If some of the mined resources keep piling up on top, that's not the worst thing, as long as the steel keeps flowing. I suppose we might as well place the main focus point of this whole setup, the steel mill itself. With that taken care of, we can move on to the coal side of things. It's a bit far away, so it needs its own construction outpost. Here we go again. Another oil pump burned down. A bit of a shame, but not much we can do about it. They are very remote, and have very little structural integrity, so if they catch fire, they are as good as dead. Good thing they are relatively cheap to rebuild. Now, let's start looking for a reasonable place to build our coal mine. Same as with the iron, it's a rich deposit, so while there is a lot of it around, it is spread a little thin. I'm hoping for a similar yield we managed to find with the iron. We are at around 40% on this spot. Let's look around a bit more. I suppose 43% is about the best we can hope for. All the other places were worse than this. I am not entirely sure where we should do the garbage sorting. If we include those transfer stations, then the garbage that goes in will be automatically sorted. But at the same time, we also have a proper sorting facility at the processing zone, so I'm not 100% sure it's all that necessary to do it here. But I will still build them next to the train station at the steel mill, and see how things behave during the tests. If they are better off being sorted next to the mine, we can still change things around before construction starts. Same as with the iron mine, we can still change the setup here too. If the throughput of one cable car line is not enough, we can split the conveyor, and use two instead. We need a destination for the coal, so I think it's time to place the processing center for it. I can only repeat myself. If one facility is not enough, we can build more. I remember clearly how we needed multiples in previous series, but I think those mines were much higher yields, so we need to see how we can do with these fairly poor ones. Of course, we will also need a place to drop the garbage, and to pick up the workers. First, we place the garbage transfer station, and then the cable car stop. I can only hope that when it comes to placing the passenger train station, we can somehow cover everything. This place is very spread out, and there is very little space where we can place footpaths. I suppose we can get started on the cable lines themselves. For now, we just need to worry about having 2 of them, and who knows, we might need 3 in the end. But, before I got to those, I did notice that the slopes for this mine were rather gentle. I suppose we could build a small road going to it. I don't expect it to see much traffic, if at all, but since it's possible, I decided to include it. Okay, let's start with those cables. They have a long way to go, and some pretty rough terrain to overcome. Now comes the part where one line needs to switch lanes with the other. The stations are on the opposite sides. Thankfully, we just need to bring one of them down, and the other one can easily fly over it. Okay, So this is the line that will deal with the workers and the garbage. Let's follow it along, just to be sure. And that's the coal line hooked up. Let's see what's next. We will absolutely need road access for these two, but the cable is a bit too low down, so they will need to go for a couple seconds. I suppose the next thing we need to deal with is the road access. After that, we can worry about the trains. Maybe a slightly gentler turn will do. Let's not forget about the storage extension for the steel mill. All by itself, it can store a relatively small amount of product, and since it's such a remote place, it should have a good amount of space to keep a stockpile. I think it looks better if the storage branch goes straight into the main line. Okay. Since these temporary roads outlive their usefulness, we can bring back those nice rivers we so carelessly disrupted. First, let's place down a rough outline for the final path the roads will take, and then we can open the rivers again. Okay, I think I am fairly satisfied with the way the roads turned out. But that's only half of the equation. We still have the rails to worry about. Since this will be a fairly busy area, we will definitely need to build an overpass. And it seems the tracks we already have are coming in at a bit of an unfortunate angle. Sadly, we will need to do a bit of demolishing to make it look nice. Wait, we need the electrified bridges. Yeah, we definitely need to trim these tracks back to make a proper turn. Thankfully, we don't need to worry about any pre-existing tracks on this side, so we can plan to our heart's content. Now, this particular line will continue further into the mainland, so let's make sure we place the line doing just that, and then we can place the different branches going into the steel mill area. It seems the cables are once again too low. We need to place the tracks first, and then we can see if the cables are high enough to go over them. That's the garbage branch dealt with. But, we still need to hook up the lines that will give nationwide access to the steel itself. Since this road only goes to the coal mine, I don't really mind building a level crossing here. Although I do want it to be a bit less bumpy if at all possible. Now, this place is a bit cramped, so instead of the usual 90-degree junction, we will build one with one side making a sharp turn, and the other having a more gentle way onto the main line. You know what? Let's just trim this whole section back, and build a proper track between the two bridges. I think at this point, this place is more or less ready for testing. I suspect there will be plenty of changes that will be necessary. And those potential changes are the reason why I didn't immediately start building that helicopter construction hub. I want to make sure everything else is fully set in stone before I add any more to it. Anyways, there was very little time left on the recording, so I didn't want to do anything big. So I just checked on the new town, and I think we can test if we still need workplace restrictions. I think there was only 2 apartment blocks with these restrictions, but I still checked the others to be sure. And we have workers in the train station, and not an insignificant number either. This town is ready for business. I think the next thing we need to deal with then is the new RCO. We will need it to be operational, so we can deal with the rail demolition jobs around the place. For now, I only sent Ruby over to the new office. As good the population numbers are in the new town, I am still a bit cautious about giving them too much work. At least locally. If too many new jobs open up in walking distance of the apartments, then we will just end up lowering the number of people ending up in the train station. And before we continue on our journey, let's get rid of this little overgrowth on the tracks. Another happy morning in the Republic. I hope everyone's ready for a good day's work. And we have workers in the RCO. Things are going rather well. This train is in the way. Let's just send it to pick up more meat, so the track layer can finish those train bumpers at the end of the line. I didn't pay attention to the warning messages at the top of the info window. The reason why the progress is stuck is because there is no room to store up the reusable materials from the demolition job. I will get around to doing my homework in a second. Even then, I didn't fully read the message, just that there was no room. For a bit, I thought there was no room to place the waste, so I ended up sorting out the garbage deliveries. It would have been necessary either way, so might as well do it now, and worry about the actual issue in a little bit later. I set these trucks to wait for a full load at the pickup. In previous tests, I noticed that one of the trucks will end up loading biological waste, which seemed to come from one of the other garbage types slowly decaying. Maybe the wood. Either way, one of the trucks will worry about doing that, and the other will ferry the actual rubbish to be processed. And I finally took the time to fully read the error message. We have plenty of room to store the garbage, but not the reclaimed materials. Since both the office and the attached storage were completely full, I ended up throwing things out to make room. I guess we will just need to set the delivery amounts lower, and set the factory connection to be two-way, since I did set it to be one-way before. And this is pretty much it for today. As I've said a couple times already, I will try to make sure that the things we planned out today are going to be functional, and if they aren't, then we can make the necessary changes at the start of the next episode. We obviously still need to include a passenger station. There is one thing that does worry me. The length of the cable car line going to the coal mine. We are already using trains to bring in workers from the town, and if we add up the travel times between that and the cable cars, that just might be too long. I guess we will see. We will also need to build the power infrastructure, but that will only need a transformer, and a couple more substations. But all in all, this place is coming together nicely. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, and leaving a like would also let me know that this video was worth making. If you feel that it was good enough, and you can afford it, please consider going to my Ko-fi page, which you can find in the description, and donate an amount that you feel is appropriate. And if you did like what you've seen, there should be links to some of my other videos and playlists on the screen. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.